Oh,
Good. Good. Thank you for being here.
yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
Great. All right, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Tori McMichael, and I am the Executive Director of the Washington Media Scholars Foundation. We're here today to give you a little information about our 2025 Media Case Competition and speak specifically about the qualifying round, which was released on September 30th. Joining us here today, we have a few panelists of experts that are going to give you all kinds of great information. First, we have Ben Engel. Works with national media, but he has been with the foundation since its inception in 2009. He is the author of this year's and many years before the actual case, and he is the advisory committee chair. So he's got lots of wealth of knowledge about not only the case, but about the foundation. And then we have Dr. Jay Newell. He is recently retired from Iowa State University. He has had, I believe, 9 teams come through Washington Media Scholars Program. So he has a lot of information to share about how advisors work with their students and advice for teams as they navigate the program. And even though he has retired, we've kept him involved in the foundation. He's currently serving on our advisory committee. And next we have Shelby Moore. She is a senior at Brigham Young University. She and her partner Abby were the winners of the 2024 Media Case Competition. So congratulations again to Shelby. And then we have Molly Fitzsimons. Molly just graduated from Ithaca College this past May. She and her partner Kate were first runners up for the 2024 Media Case Competition, and she is currently working as a digital campaign specialist. Hope I got your title right, Molly, for NBC Universal in LA. So congratulations, Molly. So before we get to the meat of the qualifying round, I want to just give you a quick overview of the stages of the competition. So as I mentioned, the qualifying round was released on September 30th. Those documents are linked on our website, will also be linked in this presentation, which you will receive later, and Ben's going to speak more specifically to those in a moment. But what we want to make sure that you are aware of is during the qualifying round, you can work in teams of two or you can participate as an individual. So if you do not have a partner yet, that is okay. You can complete your documents as an individual and we'll work on a partner later. This is a lighter load compared to the semifinal round. So this is something that would take the participants have said about an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete. From there, we will select students to move forward to the semifinal round. For the semifinal round, you must be in a team of two. If you don't have a partner, we can help work to patch you up with other students who applied as individuals, or you can find a partner from your school at that point. This is a more in-depth plan with new data, and Ben's going to speak a little bit more to that in a moment. Then the finalists. We will select 6 teams and 1 team of alternates to be finalists for our Media Scholars Week here in Washington, D.C. We bring you to D.C. this year from June 9th through the 13th for an all expense paid week where we take you on media visits, networking events. You will do your final presentation, which will be followed by an awards luncheon and a networking reception. So those are the stages of the competition. So, as I mentioned, this year's qualifying round has been released, and Ben Engel is the author of this year's qualifying round document. So, I'm going to let him speak to that more specifically.
Thanks, Tori. Hello, students. Good to see you and professors that happen to be joining us. My name is Ben Engel. I'm happy to be with you tonight and thought I'd make myself available. Tori, you get my feedback? So maybe someone's.
Well, the victim say something? Is it out of hand?
There we go. All right. Uh, Glad to be here with you tonight. The purpose of me being here isn't to present anything to you. I'm here for primarily question and answers. I will give you a minute or so of my kind of perspective on how we approach the qualifying round and then think about the semifinal round. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat or signal us somehow so that we can address those while you have our attention here today. And if you don't get your question answered today, please follow up with an email to Tori or to me, and we'd be glad to answer that. But the qualifying round case, hopefully you've seen it or read it by now, is meant to engage you and to get you to start thinking about how we, as media buyers, and that's what I do, my day job in national media, is I'm a media planner, media buyer, is how do we think about reaching specific audiences with a client's message? Our job isn't to create the message, though we like to think we're creative people and could come up with good messages. That's not what I do. I don't make ads, but I make sure that people see ads. So that's what we do here. And we really wanted to narrow the focus this year so that you don't get, you being the students, don't get lost in kind of the weeds of what we do. We want to introduce you to some of the key things that we are interested in and to see how you think. So you'll notice that we're asking you to pick one of three media options. We gave you a little bit of data about those options and then explain to us in an essay why you made your choice. There's no right answer. You're we're not looking for you to pick one of those as the right answer versus the other two. We're looking for the way that you think critically, think creatively, and the way that you write. Think of it as forming a hypothesis about how your media plan will work and not having to yet prove that hypothesis is the way that I would approach this qualifying round if I were you. You are welcome to use outside sources. I've had one question from somebody already at this point asking about outside sources. It's not required, certainly not required. But if you want to do that, by all means, do it and let us know. Include that in your essay in some way, or include some type of citation reference at the end that explains to us, who you talk to and what they explain to you. We like to hear how students are engaging people outside of the classroom to help them with this case. Number one, if you engage with somebody that we're trying to get to be a sponsor, we're going to call them and ask them to donate money to help make this program a little bit better. But you certainly can do that. This case is an introduction to what you will do for the semifinal round. That doesn't mean that it'll be the same theme. We'll likely change themes. But you will have a much more substantial project to tackle for the semifinal round. You will have a case document that's probably 8 to 10 pages long that outlines the hypothetical problem that you're trying to solve through paid media. We'll give you a much more substantial list of media choices. We'll give you loads of data, and then ask for a full media plan that you have to build and defend for why you think it solves that problem. This round, qualifying round, I suspect it would take you 1 to 2 hours to put together a good entry that'll get you to the semifinal round. The semifinal round will take longer, and I'll let Molly and Shelby, who are here, explain their experience and explain how much time they put into it. But that's what I have. Tori, did I hit everything I needed to? And I'd rather just open it up to questions if there are any.
No, thank you. That was perfect. Just a quick overview.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. What we'll do next is we do have a few questions that seem to be frequently asked questions that we'll start with, and Molly and Shelby and Jay will jump in and answer those. And then after we go through those few questions, we'll open the floor for everyone to answer whatever questions you may want to ask. So we'll start here and just ask our panelists to share how they heard about the foundation and what made you decide to participate. So I'm going to let Molly and Jay and Shelby, you can just kind of jump in and share your thoughts.
I'll start. And so I've been working with Washington Media Scholars since about 2014. No idea how I heard about it, but what it's been for my students is sort of this transition into the real world in a really nice, high level, fully funded kind of way. So that's what it's been for me, is that ability to move students from where they are, where they're working sort of in theory, to working on cases that seem a lot more real and have real people looking at them. And it's worked great for my students. We've, as you mentioned before, we've done pretty well over the years. Molly, Shelby?
I can hop in. So my professor was Dr. Farman over at Ithaca College, and she kind of brought this competition to our attention. She taught our media planning class because we did have one at my school, but before this, competition, the most experience I had had with media planning outside of her class was some like incorporating it in small ways to other projects I was working on. So hearing that this was media planning specific and strategy specific, and the like the amount of connections and everything you just get from even participating, made it absolutely worth it. So my teammate and I both decided that we wanted to compete. And I guess that's just how it went for us. We knew that deeping or diving deeper into media planning was something we wanted, and this was the perfect experience for that.
Yeah, my experience was really similar to Molly's. I heard about it from a professor, and me and my teammate were just both looking for more ways to dive deeper into topics. One thing that I thought was cool in the actual week we were there was hearing what everyone's majors are, because really there is like a variety of majors of people who come. I'm studying advertising, and so in our program we kind of cover a lot, whether it's like account management, strategy, or in media buying. And so sometimes it can be hard, like with all those things to cover, to dive into one really specifically. And so similar to like Molly said, me and my partner were just like, we don't know much about this part of the industry, and we'd like an opportunity to dive into it deeper. And Washington Media Scholars was the perfect opportunity for that.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing that up, that point, Shelby, that there's a variety of students in media communications and public policy majors that participate in our program. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so you've touched on, goodness, you've touched on this a little bit, but could you share about how much, specifically maybe Shelby, since your major is slightly different, how much knowledge or experience you had with media buying before you participated?
Yeah, for sure. I had literally no experience pretty much. I had like heard about it a little bit. For us, our media buying class is our senior year, and I was a junior, or like coming into my senior year when I participated. So I really didn't know anything, but it was still felt like very approachable. I was really grateful for like the resources we got through Washington Media Scholars. I was able to work with like some professors at my school, which really helped. But I think that I've been talking to juniors at my school here about like participating, and that's one of the biggest concerns is like, I don't really know, like I don't know anything about media buying, like how do I figure it out? And I would say just like go for it. If you have any interest at all, go for it, because you'll be able to learn so much through the process. And for me, that's been like the best way to learn more about media buying, is actually having an experience to like try and apply it.
Molly, did you want to add anything to that?
I had a little bit of a different experience because, as I mentioned, we have one media planning and buying class, and that is usually around our sophomore, junior year, and I was a senior at the time. Um, but I completely agree with everything Shelby said. It's very digestible. I remember at least last year there was like a page of like understanding terms, and it was very easy to put the puzzle pieces together if you didn't have background experience. So absolutely worth trying, even if it's not something you have an experience with already.
Great, thank you. Okay, Ben touched on this a little bit, but Molly and Shelby can speak a little bit more specifically into the amount of time and work went into the qualifying round and then the semifinal round.
For us, the qualifying round was really approachable. I think there was maybe a little more time than usual because we were kind of getting familiar with everything. That's one thing I appreciate about the rounds. Like if you aren't super experienced, I think they really like build on each other in like difficulty. So it's not just like jumping into like, whoa, I have to learn everything now. But I think that me and my partner just met like two, maybe three times for the qualifying round. It did not take long, for like an hour each time. And then the semifinal round was a little bit more intensive. It's a little hard to remember like exact times, but we met like maybe once or twice a week for like a month or a little longer. I can't remember exactly, especially like the qualifying round and then afterwards. But it was a little more time intensive, but very approachable with like full-time school and like part-time work schedules.
Yeah, I would say pretty similar. We had a couple hours dedicated to the qualifying round, but we made sure it was spread out over a couple days just to make sure we were checking things and editing things. And then semifinal round was definitely more intensive. Not necessarily like overly complicated, just we wanted to absolutely make sure that we had worked out every side of the strategy we could, making sure it was the best it could possibly be, since um, you kind of like stick with a lot of that plan for the finals round if you make it that far. So we spent a lot more energy or a lot more time with the amount of content we had to work with the semifinal round. So it definitely took longer, but paid off.
Great, thank you. Now, can you just speak to a little bit, and again, Ben touched on this a little bit, and Jay, you could probably offer some great insight here. What kinds of resources you used? How did you, how are your professors assisting you, and any industry professionals that you may have reached out to for help?
Well, here I'll jump in as as kind of faculty, and that is some students, but not all, work with a faculty member, and that takes a little bit of guts because you kind of have to. If they haven't brought you to the project like Lisa Farman at Syracuse, I mean at Ithaca does, you have to go to them. But I think sometimes you'll find them more than willing to help you, and that might be reading your stuff and just asking you questions about it. What were you thinking here? Gee, do you think you should be using your strategy more? Stuff like that. And then for the later rounds, it's really up to you. But one of the things that our students have done is they've gone to a subject matter expert on the case itself. So, for instance, 2 years ago was a case about pharmaceuticals. So the students went and found an alum in their program who worked for a drugstore and drugstore chain and talk to her, and that made the stuff come more to life. I think you might find if you ask your profs that they're more than willing to help. This is kind of a cool project for them. Ben, you got anything on that?
I think that's great. I love the stories about hearing who students are reaching out to. You know, some folks pick up the phone and cold call TV stations or newspapers. Jay, to your pharmacy example, there was a team during that year who had, and I'm going to forget who it was, but they reached out to someone that was part of the pharmaceutical lobby firm, um, or the pharmacist lobby firm, and one of our judges was the president of that firm and knew the person they had talked to. So it was a great bit of legwork that the team had done to build their case. Again, it's not required, but there are people in professional settings who like to help college students. So if you pick up that phone and call or send an email, I can't guarantee you'll get a response, but there are a lot of people out there that would like to talk to you and help you. So don't be shy.
Yeah, I can just jump in and say, like, from my experience, our professors were really key. We had one that we worked with a lot that was really helpful. But as far as like understanding the case, I do think that like what we needed was there, which is super nice. But then we were able to like reach out to um, other resources, or one thing that was really like helpful for my partner and I was really like just understanding the landscape. Like we hadn't really ever worked on a project that was more like legislation focused, and we didn't know our case was about like sports betting, and so we didn't know as much about like that arena and that industry, I guess. And so one thing that me and my teammate really enjoyed was also like the storytelling aspect of like the presentation and the book and building out that media plan around a story. And so I guess that might not be as required, but it was really helpful for us to just like dive into the industry, look at like what advertising is being done, what are people doing now, and like what are big ideas that they're thinking about and where are these people spending time. And I think that was just helpful for us.
For my team, same thing. Lots of professors weighing in. Especially as we moved further, we would send it to not just professors who were media planning related, but outside just to see if the overall strategy would make sense to them, which I did feel was really helpful because even if you don't have media planning specific experience, like being able to talk through something and see if it makes sense to someone who would be potentially a consumer of the ads you're coming up with was really, really a helpful thing to do. And then I know at least at my school, I was involved with my school's radio and newspaper. And so that I would say was really helpful talking to those advisors to understand the mediums a little better. When it comes to, you know, where you want to place your ads and what that can look like just outside of what the numbers say.
That's all great advice. Thank you very much. I'm going to just take this opportunity too to mention that as I said earlier, this is an all expense paid trip to Washington for the media scholars, but we also provide a stipend for your professor or advisor to join you. We pay for 2 nights hotel and give them a travel stipend, and then they're invited to all the events and your presentation while they're here. So if you're looking for another reason to convince your professor to work with you, you can throw that little nugget in there too. Okay, so those first few questions were just designed to kind of get the conversation started. If anybody has any questions, feel free to just turn on your mic and share, or you can put something in the chat, and we'd like to answer any questions that you may have specifically about this case, the qualifying round, or about the program, any questions that you have.
Okay, hi. My name's Abigail. I'm a senior at Temple University, an advertising major. For one of the questions I had about the first round and then the second round is who like judges it kind of? Like is it you guys or is it like I don't know, because I know AI is a thing, like they like will look at your resume and cover letter, which is like kind of scary. So I don't know if that you're getting like a human to judge it and like multiple perspectives on
Yeah,
if money gets through or not.
that's a good question. We're not using AI to review these. Tori and I review them, and we have an advisory committee made up of 12 industry professionals. Jay sits on the advisory committee with us, and we open up the opportunity to the advisory committee to review the qualifying round entries as well. We'll get between 4 and 6 volunteers from that group to help. So there'll be a panel of human judges reading your entries.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know. Thank you so much.
And the same answer would hold for the semifinal round. What more people tend to read the semifinal round than the qualifying round.
Yeah.
And then the finals round here in DC, we invite usually 5 or 6 professionals from the industry to come and serve as the in-person judges. So Tori and I are no longer a part of that process. We invite them and we are in the room, but we do not judge at that point.
Yeah, thank you so
Hey,
much.
Ben, can I sort of ask
Yeah.
sort of follow up to Abigail's
Yeah.
question? So are the people, especially in the final rounds, who are looking at these cases, are they all hardcore media planners that they know all the tweaky stuff about about different media and costs and stuff like that? Or do they know more? Are they more from the industry and they have a broader, maybe, kind of a marketing based view of things?
Good question. They are people that have a diverse set of skills in the advertising space. Some are media buyers, planners like me. Some are on the sales side, so they're selling the products that we're buying. Um, well, you'd be from academia, so there's that. Um, Most of them have been doing this for a decade or longer, and we will weight the scores depending on how many entries people review. I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but if let's say one judge reads 30 of the 50 entries, then we'll take that into account because you could have read the best 30 or the worst 30. So we'll review and add a little weighting to that based on what everyone's able to accomplish for us. That's why we ask for a lot of judges because we are asking for people to volunteer their time. It does take a significant amount of time, especially the semifinal round, to read all of these. So there's that human element. There's not the AI element involved. Does that answer it, Jay?
Yeah. Okay, we had a question in the chat. The question is for the students and how you used the competition as a chance to network, and if you are still in touch with anyone you met, and are they currently progressing in their career development?
I can take this one. So I was a freshly graduated senior when I attended the final round of Media Scholars Week. And in addition to, wanting to do well in the competition, a big thing for me was trying to network with as many people as I possibly could because I needed a job. And a lot of people come into this either with internships that they're, looking for internships, or they already have one, or they're looking for a job, or they already have one. But regardless of where your standing is on that front, you are meeting so many people. You are taken to so many different companies to meet and network with them. They give you business cards to keep yourself top of mind with these people when you meet with them. LinkedIn is huge. I know that my partner and I every night went back to our hotel room and were looking up everybody on LinkedIn. So that was definitely a really big part of why I was so thankful for the week, because as part of doing this week, I had quite a few interviews with different companies that I had met during Media Scholars Week, and ended up, as Tori mentioned earlier, working for NBC. And that was largely attributed to like the posts that were on LinkedIn about Washington Media Scholars Week, and knowing people in that industry and networking through that. So absolutely, you are networking as much as you possibly can. It's basically a week-long job interview as it was pitched to us, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah, I can just add that the networking experiences are incredible. I love Molly's story. I'm still in school, so I don't have a full-time job yet. I'm not graduated yet, but I can already see like the merits of the connections I was able to make. And on LinkedIn, like even just when people see like Washington Media Scholars, a lot of people know about that organization, and it helps you stand out a lot. And it was just the amount of people that I met and like where they were in their companies. I was like, I have like no business even being able to talk to them, but they were interested in like hearing about us and talking to us. And so it was really just an incredible networking opportunity.
Great, thank you. I have a quick question here in the chat. Someone asked if we could have some information about the Media Fellow Scholarship. So this presentation is, geared more towards media scholars, but I'll take a quick minute to explain. Media Fellows is an essay-based scholarship application that the Washington Media Scholars Foundation has. Our next deadline is December 2nd. So the requirements for the question. So sophomores, juniors, and seniors are eligible to apply. You submit a resume and a letter of recommendation, and then an essay about your classes and activities that you're involved in school, your career goals, and some statement of need, because this is both a merit and need-based scholarship. This is open to students in all areas of media, communication, public policy. It's not just students who may be interested in media buying specifically. It's more of a broad group of majors. So I would encourage anybody who is on this call today, if you have not visit our website, go to the Media Fellows and take a look at the application. Like I said, the next round of applications is due December 2nd. And I'm happy to answer any specific questions about the application. My email will be shared at the end of the presentation, and you can reach out and ask me any questions that you have. So any other questions from our guests? Okay, I'm going to give both Molly and Shelby an opportunity, and Jay as well, an opportunity to talk a little bit about your experience, your personal experience, and what advice you may have for anybody who wants to participate. And then we'll give a quick opportunity if questions have come up. So why don't we start with Jay? Put you on the spot there.
Okay, so advice. Okay, one is huge points to just doing this, showing up at this meeting. My advice to students is give it a shot. It could be a little intimidating because it's new, it's a new area. You don't know what they're looking, if you don't know what they are looking for, and I know how difficult that can be. But what they are looking for are people who like to think about this stuff, not that people with the answers. But people who want to think about this stuff. And so if that's you, give it a shot. Check your spelling, check your grammar, do the easy stuff, but just get that first round in and see how it goes. It may work out, quite a bit better. Every one of the teams that I've brought through, that have gone through on their own, with me sort of chasing behind them, have thought that they in no way were ready to take this on, that they didn't have the courses, or they didn't have the smarts, or they didn't have the background, or something, you know. But in every case, they just did it, and it moved them. It was more than enough to move them forward and give them the real chance to shine. So bottom line is, give it a shot, see what happens.
I can go for it next. I would really echo what Jay said about just going for it. Like I said, me and my partner, we did not know very much at all coming into it. And so I would say just go for it. One thing that some previous students who had done it at my school said is she was like, if I would have known how awesome it was going to be, I would have given it even more time. And so me and my partner took that to heart and we tried to like give it a lot of time. But I would say that even for myself, like this is worth spending time on because the experience, no matter how far you like go in the journey, is incredible. Like even the beginning rounds, like they expanded my view of media buying and they taught me things and I learned a lot. And then getting to go to Washington, I can't even describe how incredible it was and the opportunities that we were given there. Really just like the last little piece of advice I would say is like really lean into what makes you unique and what your expertise is. I think that that's something that me and my partner, like I've said, we didn't really know that much about media buying. And so obviously we worked hard at that and we wanted to get that part good. But one of our strengths coming into it was really thinking about like strategy and storytelling. And I think that we were able to incorporate that into our case. And I think that it stood out some. And so I would just say, lean into like what makes you unique. And one of the beauties of this competition is it's very fluid. Like other competitions I've done in college are like you have to have this size font and this color and like just so specific about every single requirement. But one of the things that's so cool and makes the Washington Media Scholars competition stand out is that it's very flexible. Like there are some requirements, but they give you so much freedom, which really makes it a fun case to work on.
Yeah, just echoing everything that Jay and Shelby have said so far. I think my biggest piece of advice is just to start early. It might not take you a really long time for the qualifying or the semifinal round, but having it in your brain for my teammate and I was really helpful. And it was like, okay, so we did this, and then we'd do it early and then we'd have a little time and we'd chew on it and then maybe circle back and be like, I was thinking about this thing. Like, do we think we should incorporate this? Or do we think we should be taking on this angle? My teammate was also my roommate. So it was kind of like a thing in the morning. We would talk about it like from the night before when we were working on it and see if we came up with anything new the next day. But absolutely just, put effort into it. But I would also definitely say start early because the more you get to chew on it and the more you flesh it out and just really get to make sure your like strategy, whatever you decide is really nailed down was really, really key for us.
Thank you. That was great insight. I just did get a couple more questions in the chat while you were sharing your words of wisdom. First, someone asked if there were any mistakes that maybe you made or that other teams thought that they made that you could share that participants could learn from.
Hmm. I'm really trying to think about that. I'll say the first thing that came to my mind, Molly really just covered this too, but I think that me and my partner like really did our best to like think it through and like start early and stuff like that. But I will admit, like as it, our semester ends in April, and so we had already kind of been in like summer and we were working on it, but we definitely did save some of the last things until the end and like even the night before we were like, wait, maybe we should redo this. So we're like, we should redo these parts, we should rework this. And I really think that it all worked out in the end, the time to think about it, it was fine. But I just think giving yourself more time, even if the tasks you have to do aren't a lot, giving yourself more time is just nice to do. But that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Building off of that, I would say, at least for my team, and I think Kate would agree, was our biggest mistake was kind of a similar thing. We had ended in May, and there were like 2.5 weeks. We both graduated, and it was like 2.5 weeks. We had worked like constantly working on it, and then we took almost too much of a brain break when it came to the final round. So just even if you're not working on it, just making sure like it's fresh in your mind as you progress through the levels was really, really important for us. And I think that could have helped us if we had stayed a little more focused throughout the weeks, because the semifinal into the final round lasts kind of a while. So you want to make sure it doesn't not stay like top of mind for you.
That's great advice. Thank you. One more question that has just come in the chat is asking if you could both talk about some of the personal and professional lessons that you've learned during the competition and how you've been able to incorporate that either into your job or into your studies.
The first one I thought of is from etiquette class, and it's nice to see you, not nice to meet you. You will be able to take an etiquette class if you come to the final round, and that was huge for me, at least in like learning how to look people in the eye, shake their hands when you're sitting at a professional dinner, what that looks like. Things like saying nice to see you, not nice to meet you, because you meet so many people, you might have already met them. So I would say some of the biggest stuff I met was more like social and networking things, and that was really, really beneficial, because that whole week you're meeting people, you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward, because that can turn into a job or an internship, or even just a really nice connection that you get to have with someone that's wonderful in the industry. So for me, the biggest learning was definitely the social skills that comes with being an adult in the professional field.
Yeah, I would really echo that. That was a huge thing for me. I also think it just gave me such a good view into the industry. Kind of like I mentioned before, at least graduating from my program, there's a lot of different directions you can go. And I think that's true with a lot of like communications, marketing, all those kinds of majors. There's so many different directions you can go. And so it was just so helpful for me to see like what is media buying like, and then getting to like visit at these places where they're doing it every day and ask questions and just get a really like up close view of the industry, so that I feel like has really informed my decision making as I've like advanced in my program, and then like I'm looking for jobs now for the future.
Okay, thank you. Any other last minute questions? Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick second here to just make sure that you are all aware of the timeline. So the qualifying round is due on February 2nd, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. I do always stress the Eastern Time because we do have quite a few students who are on the West Coast, and they go to submit at midnight because some of us like to wait till the last minute, and you'll find that the application is closed because we are housed here on the East Coast. So we will review those qualifying round documents, and we will announce the semifinalists on February 7th. That is also when we will release the semifinal documents, the case for that round. Those documents are due on March 23rd. Finalists announced on April 4th. And then again, Media Scholars Week is the week of June 9th through the 13th, and that's when you will be here in DC. If you have any other questions you thought of, after this session, please feel free to reach out to me or to Ben, and we're happy to answer any questions. The goal of the qualifying round is to get you involved and to encourage you to move forward. So we're looking for an opportunity to engage you within the program and to keep you involved. So we want to be here to help you with any resources that we can guide you towards or answer questions that we can answer. Ben, anything to add to that?
No, that's great. I appreciate Molly and Shelby and Jay being here to share their experience, because that's what's most important to us, is to create a positive experience to help young people, young college students, connect with people in the industry and get jobs.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. Our founder, Robin Roberts, spoke at his alma mater, the University of South Carolina today, and one of the messages that he gave, one of the purpose sort of behind the mission is to help give students that nudge, right? We all got some kind of a nudge or helping hand somewhere along the way, and that's kind of what he coined it as. We're in the nudge business. We're helping give you that little helping hand that you need, and so we want to be here to help you through this, the stages of this competition. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And echoing on what Ben said, Jay, Molly, Shelby, thank you so much. You're the experts here. You're the ones who have done the work and participating in the program. So thank you so much for coming today and sharing all of your insights. We look forward to seeing all of your entries in the qualifying round. Again, reach out with any questions. This session has been recorded. I will email it to you for those who are registered along with this slide deck, and we will also post this on our website and have the link in our social media. So feel free to revisit at the session and see if any questions arise from there. So again, thank you all for joining us today, and we wish you the best of luck. Oh, there was one more question. Oh, just a thank you.